Looks like the Mets, Jeff Passan, our very own, is reporting that they have signed Joe Panik, which is a nice move for them because they needed to get better defensively. It's been a mess for them, and they get Joe Panik, which I think was a really good spot for him. He's a New York kid, went to St. John's, grew up in New York State, and he's a kid that was a Yankee fan, but the fact that he's going to be able to be here in New York, helping out defensively, he's a left-handed bat that the Mets needed, is huge. And we bring up the Mets. They got a series coming up with the Nationals, which I think is big, because the one thing, the Mets have gotten fat on bad teams. White Sox, Marlins, all right? The only good team that they've really played since the All-Star break were the Minnesota Twins, who they swept in a 2-game series in Minnesota, so they actually did a good job there. But they've gotten fat on bad baseball teams. They won 5 out of 6 against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who were in free fall. Although I will say, the Mets beat up on the Marlins, sweeping them in a 4-game set, winning 6 out of 7 against them. And then what did the Marlins do yesterday against Dallas Keuchel and the Atlanta Braves? They beat them up. So it's not a fait accompli in baseball that when you play a bad team that you automatically win. And the Mets have been able to do that. Only 1 loss in the last 14 games has been absolutely incredible. A half game out of a playoff spot. It's been ridiculous. But now it's going to get amped up. The next 6 games, 3 against the Nationals at home, and then they got to go to Atlanta to take on the Braves. And the schedule gets tougher after that. They got 3 in Kansas City, which I guess is easy, but then they're going to have a lot of games down the stretch. They got the Dodgers coming up in the middle of September, so it's going to get a little bit tougher. But the job they've done has just been absolutely incredible. Now, is it sustainable? Is this just a kind of fluky run that they've made in a really bad National League? Or is this a team that we thought could be a contender at the beginning of the year? They weren't, but are now starting to gel into what we thought they were. So that's going to ultimately be determined in the final 40-plus games they have left this year. But it all starts against the Nationals, and it starts with them trying to win series. Take 2 out of 3 this weekend. You don't have to sweep, because that's the other aspect of this. The 13 out of 14 got you a half game away. Erased the first half of the year. You can make the case that opening day for the Mets is tonight against the Nationals. It's a brand new season. They're right there. So if you are somebody that now believes and that the fluke was the first half of the year, then go out and get them. And if they don't get them, then you could be disappointed because you were right there. The first half doesn't matter. Now, if you're somebody like me that's a little dubious, a little suspect, well, then the first half matters, because I do think that's a bigger sample to kind of go on. But if you believe that the first half is a fluke and this is the real Mets, then go out and get it, because they got a chance. This rotation, they have as good a chance as any of the teams chasing after those 2 spots. Nationals, all right? Nationals are good, but they're certainly not world beaters. They've got their injuries that they're dealing with. They just came off a sweep in San Francisco, but they're coming back east now. We'll see what they do. Philadelphia is in a bit of a free fall. Lost 2 out of 3 to Arizona. Lost last night. Almost got no hit by Mad Bum in San Francisco. All right, I'm not sure how the Cardinals have been able to do it this year. I'm not sure how good they are. I'm not sure how good the Brewers are. I mean, these are the teams that you're competing with. And now you don't have to worry about the Giants and the Diamondbacks because you leapfrogged them by the way you played. So for the first time since 1990, which is a long time ago, we're talking 29 years ago, they won 13 out of 14. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be a real good weekend here in New York. All the buzz has been around the Yankees because of how good they've been. They beat up on the Blue Jays last night. Urshela with 2 more home runs. We know what the Yankees are, but the Mets have made it fun. They really have. And this National League wild card is going to be a blast down the stretch. And the Dodgers are clearly the team to beat. They went to the World Series the last 2 years. But if baseball has proven anything, wild card teams can make hay. San Francisco Giants won 3 championships in 10, in 12, and 14. 2 of those years, they were the wild card in 1. Red Sox is a wild card in 04-1. There's a bunch of examples where a wild card team gets hot and they make a run. So if I'm the Dodgers, I'm sitting there on a perch as the best team in baseball, but you know what? I'm going to have to get into a 5-game series with one of these teams. And one of these teams is going to be red hot going into the playoffs because they really would have earned their way in by having to play some great baseball. And you look at that Mets rotation, and in Game 1, I can throw DeGrom, and in Game 2, I could throw Syndergaard, and now I've got a choice between Wheeler and Stroman in Game 3. Stroman, by the way, is pitching tonight. It may be one of the biggest games he's pitched in a long time, since probably when Toronto went to the playoffs a few years ago. And you got a rotation that you can feel pretty good about. And Phil Regan, we all made fun of him, 82-year-old guy looking like Casey Stengel making pitching changes or going out and talking to the pitcher when he came in and got hired as the pitching coach. He has turned around that relief pitching. So now we can really have a conversation about the Mets doing some stuff here. But you got to beat better teams, because the Nationals are way better than anybody they played outside of Minnesota. And the Atlanta Braves are the team you're chasing after for the division. So put the Marlins aside for now, the Pirates aside for now, and now you go after the varsity. Teams that not only are, at least on paper, looked upon as better than you, that the standings say are better than you, but are clearly way better than what you played. And the way the Mets are playing right now, I don't think there's anybody that they should fear. And they signed Joe Panik. That's going to help the defense. Stroman, hey, listen, I wasn't a big Brody Van Wagenen fan. Quite frankly, I wasn't sure what the heck he was doing when he took over as the general manager. I wasn't sure that was the smartest thing in the world to do, to go out and get Marcus Stroman when clearly you were playing for next year. And the guy only had 1 year left on his contract. But now it looks like, hey, you got him for 2020, and he might help you make a run this year. And if I'm the Phillies, I go out and get Harper. What's going on? Why are they struggling to make the playoffs? San Diego goes out and gets Manny Machado. Where are they? Bottom of the National League West. So baseball's just goofy, man. And so it's all about where you happen to be at that particular moment. And right now, on August 8th, this is a team that is battling for a playoff spot. So what does it matter what happened in the first half of the year?
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, highlights, and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.